Well, and here we are back at the Bird and Babe, and it's one of the smaller rooms in the back here. It's still a little bit loud, but it's a lot quieter than it would be in the rabbit room. And so I thought that I'd try to come back here to talk about the themes of Voyage of the Dawn Treader, because that was something that Ben Barnes asked me about. He said, well, what? I told him, I said, well, I'm more concerned about the themes in the story than the details. He said, oh, so what do you think are the really important themes? And I told him at the time, I said, well, I think that themes of discovery are really important. I talked about what Lucy learned more about herself in Corey Arkin's book, and how Caspian had to learn more about himself towards the end of the story. And I hadn't really articulated it very well, but since he asked me that, I've been thinking about it a little more, and I wanted to kind of flesh that out. And so I think, yes, it is discovery, but it's discovery about several things. For one thing, yes, it is sort of self-discovery. Eustace has to learn more about who he is and what he actually is, because he has a very wrong view of who he is as a person. But also there's, we were discussing this on the forums, it's one of the threads I started, and I think that in addition to that, you have to have, of course, that kind of discovery within a context. And that context, namely, is within the context of Aslan. And so, yes, Eustace discovers who he is, but he discovers who he is with respect to what he is supposed to be, with what Aslan really wants him to be. And so it's not just, oh, now I know I'm a bad person and I didn't know that before. Oh my goodness. No, it's a realization of who he is. And also with Lucy, of course, she realizes more about who she is, but also what she could be, and maybe what she's not supposed to be. And so there's a lot going on there in relation to Aslan. And in the great situations in the story where Lucy has a really great experience with the book of Corey Arkin. I mean, that's a point where Aslan steps into the story. The same with Eustace. Aslan steps into the story. The same with Caspian, because when Caspian has his moment towards the end where he wants to sail to the end of the world, then Aslan has to step in to talk to him. So there's a lot going on there, and a lot of it ultimately comes to a greater realization of who Aslan is, and this idea of discovering that Aslan is in our world too. It's one of the big, really big memorable parts of the book, is when Aslan tells them that I'm in your world too, and you have to come to know me by another name. So that takes a whole new spin on the character of Aslan, and I won't talk too much about it here because Glumpuddle did a really good video blog on it, and you can go to his blog to check it out. And because he talked about how now it's beyond saying Aslan represents Jesus, now Aslan is Jesus. It's like the character of Aslan is just another manifestation of the Son of God. So those themes of discovery, yes, I think are very important, and I think the fact that it's a voyage, very sort of Odyssean, it's really a true odyssey in Lewis' Chronicles, that gives a great structure for discovery. So I think that, yes, discovery is one of the major themes in Voyage of the Dawn Treader, and also one of the other people in the forums mentioned redemption, and I think I hadn't really thought about that too much, but I think she was right. It is redemption, and it's especially redemption for Eustace. I think that one of the things that they really have to get right in the themes is, I'm not sure how they're going to do the scene. Glumpuddle started a thread on how they do the scene where Eustace becomes human again, and we can maybe talk about that. I'll talk about that maybe later in another blog, but it is going to be really essential that the stories show that Eustace can't do it himself. That no matter how hard he tries, no matter what he does to try to get the scales off, and there's always this other layer, and it takes Aslan, and it's a very painful experience. So I think that that is one of the key things to get. And in addition to that, you've also got the situation with, with Reepicheep, of course, Reepicheep. Of course, I'm not too concerned about them getting Reepicheep right, because we saw Prince Caspian, they did a great job with Reepicheep. So I think those are probably some of the key themes that they have to get right. And in addition to the themes, of course, the characters are what propel the themes in the stories. I mean, Narnia has such great characters. It really does. I mean, you've got Glumpuddle, you've got characters like Reepicheep, you've got characters like, villains like Shift. I mean, these are such memorable characters. And that's one reason why, of course, I think they have to stay true to the characters and who the characters are. And I think that there's some cases where, of course, the characters drive the themes. So if they can get the themes without the themes have to take precedent in importance over the characters. But the characters are still incredibly important, and that's why, when I think about the changes to Peter's character in Prince Caspian, yes, it did sort of bring about a theme of humility and of repentance, which I thought was very important. And so because of the theme that came from the change, I didn't mind it quite so much, but I still personally believe that the cost of getting this great theme, the cost of Peter's character was too great for the story. And so I think that was a sad thing that had to be sacrificed. It didn't have to be sacrificed. I think it could have been done in different respects. So with respect to the characters and the themes, I think that's very, very important. And really, how do you get outside? Ben Barnes was talking about how he really hopes he can really get the character of Caspian down for Voyage the Dawn Treader, and I think it could be one of the best. I think it could be great. I don't really see what they would really have to change or want to change, besides the change I talked about last week or so. But no, those are my thoughts on the themes, and hopefully the themes of coming to the end of the world and of learning more about who Aslan is going to come across very strongly. I think it's absolutely imperative. And as to whether or not they'll keep the revelation of Aslan, that line, I am in your world too. Some people think that they might take it out because it's too Christian or something. I don't think they take it out because it's too Christian. They've already included a lot of things that have been very Christian. Good grief, the sacrifices were the most evocative of all of them. So if they cut that out, then it wouldn't really make sense. So I don't think they cut it out for that. I am a bit afraid that they might overlook it and might not see the importance of it. I'm hoping that Douglas Gresham will step in there and say, no, it really, really is important. But we'll see. I think they'd probably include it, but some of those lines, like one of the lines in Prince Caspian, I think was not intentionally changed, but was changed just a little bit, and they unintentionally lost some of the meaning. Is when in the book Lucy says, "Oh, you're bigger." He says, "No, it is that you're older. Every time that you grow, you will find me bigger." In the movie, it's every year you grow, so shall I. It doesn't really have the same meaning. It doesn't have the same spiritual significance to saying that, oh, God's bigger. No, it's just that as we grow, we can find God bigger. So I think that was something that was changed inadvertently. But, well, we'll see what happens with Voyage of the Dawn Treader, and those are my thoughts on the themes. And this is Rillian, signing out, still not knowing how many days to go.